Welcome everyone into the first episode of Midweeks Meetings, a football show. I'm the one with the camera, KnockdownNico, and I'm here with my co-host, Pr3ssix.
Yo.
And pretty much every week we're going to be doing this. We're going to start out with pretty much every week how this is going to work is we're going to start out with some headlines, and then, headlines for the week, any big news that is dropped. And then we're going to go into predictions for all the games for the week. And then we're going to go into our auto lock section, which is a team that we think has a guaranteed win that week. Followed by fantasy, how our fantasy is doing, all that good stuff. And then we're going to end it off with a fun question. All right, so start off with the headlines for the week. Now I'm going to piggyback this as well off of this other one, but Brandon Ayuk got his extension, 4 years, $120 million. How do we feel about that?
I think it's a good signing for the 49ers. They really need to get that done. They need Ayuk. Deebo Samuel is not the alpha wide receiver like Ayuk is, and I think this deal really locks him up and gives him a good chance to go and win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree. Deebo, he's sort of the playmaker on the team, but he's just a little injury prone as well. So,
Yeah.
Ayuk's that solid wide receiver one. But going off that, though, this was confirmed by ESPN like about 2 hours ago. Trent Williams has his contract reconstructed, 3 years, $82 million. So the Niners got both their contract disputes done. I think that's good for them. They're done with the distractions and everything for hopefully the season. We'll see how it goes, but they got two of their big players, their contracts done.
Yep.
Now, I'm curious as well because I'm not sure when I think Brock Purdy's contract ends either this year or next year. So they're going to have some moves to make to see whether they're going to essentially, how much are they going to extend Purdy? Who are they going to be able to keep? Who are they going to have to get rid of if they want to keep Purdy? Obviously, we just got this Trent Williams reconstruction and this Brandon Ayuk extension as well.
Yeah, I think this is the year for the Niners. I think this is the best window that they have to go and win the Super Bowl. And I think if they don't do it this year, it's gonna take a lot of work to get all these players re-signed and have a chance to go at it again next year.
I agree. Now, I think the defense, I don't remember too much of their free agency, but I was listening to Kurt Benkirk a little yesterday. He said the Niners defense did regress a little bit from last year, although, as long as their offense is electric and they're able to put up a lot of points, I don't see that being too much of an issue for the Niners. But after this year, though, that's the question. It's going to be, who are they going to keep? Who are they going to want to keep? And how many players are they going to lose? Because it seems now more than ever it's, they're going to make it or they're going to, kind of not make it and fall apart. All right,
Yeah, I agree.
our next headline, it's kind of over now, but Ricky Pearsall got shot. I read I think something earlier today as well, or maybe it was yesterday, that he's already back at practice. So that guy's a dog, but that was just a insane situation.
Yeah, that's crazy. The fact that I didn't hear the practice part, but that's kind of crazy to get shot and come back that quickly. We'll see how his rookie season goes. Maybe he wins comeback player of the year as a rookie. Imagine.
Potentially, that would be a crazy if he does win that. Although I don't, we'll get into the comeback player of the year later, but predictions. But I don't think, honestly, he's going to win that. He's going to be, I'm curious to see if he's going to play this week. I doubt he will, just as a precautionary. But I'm going to go ahead and say that he's probably not playing this week. And if when he does play, he's going to be that third guy. He's probably going to be in the slot a lot, or maybe on the outside if they decide to put Debo in the slot, depending on how their plays work. So we'll see how he does his rookie year, but he's got a lot of competition on that Niners stacked offense.
Yeah, if I heard correctly, I think he's on IR, so I think he's out for the first 4 weeks. But once he comes back, it'll be interesting to see what he does in that 49ers offense.
I 100% agree. Our well, second, third headline is the Dolphins extend head coach Mike McDaniel through 2028, which lines up with the extension Tua Tagovailoa got. How do we feel about that?
I think this is a good move for the Dolphins. It kind of extends their Super Bowl window here. It gives them room to work with. They still got they got a lot of revolving doors on that defense especially. And I think they have a lot of opportunities to go and get some rookies, and they'll definitely have a good squad in these next few years. And I think this year, um, the Dolphins are looking up. I think they have a good chance. This extension gives more confidence to their team and to their coach, and I think it's a good move for them.
I agree. I don't think, this year, maybe even next year, they're going to be top, Super Bowl contenders with a chance to, fully make it to the Super Bowl. But, a couple good free agent signings, a couple good draft choices in the upcoming drafts, and, maybe 2026, that'll be through 2028, that'll be like their window to go to the Super Bowl, hopefully, for them.
Yep.
Our last headline, which is still pretty accurate, but this is concerning not just for the Bengals or Bengals fans, but it's a concern if you have Jamar Chase on your fantasy team as well. He still hasn't signed a contract or an extension, and he's still not practicing.
Yeah. As a fantasy football owner who has Jamar Chase on one of our leagues, um, yeah, I'm not too excited about this. Let's get Jamar Chase a big contract here and get him back on the field. I think the Bengals need him. What I'm worried about is I don't think Jamar Chase has any urgency to get back. I think he has all the leverage in the situation. Um, the Bengals, the Bengals definitely need him, and I think Jamar knows that. So he's gonna take his time, get the deal he wants, and it's gonna work out for him.
So if he doesn't get that deal, how many weeks do you see him sitting out?
Um, you know, the start of their schedule isn't too hard. I think he could easily sit out a good 4 to 5 weeks. I think if he really wants that deal, that is something he will 100% do. Personally, if I'm the Bengals, I think they end up signing him here soon, shortly in the next couple of days, just because Jamar is a key piece in this franchise, and they can't just let him hold out for this long. It's gonna create bad relationships between that squad, and it's just not gonna be good for them.
I agree. I think they need to sign him before this first game. If they don't, I mean, who do they play? I think they play New England with their first game. Maybe not the best opponent in New England, but if he doesn't get a contract soon, I think they're going to have some offensive problems, especially because, T. Higgins is a good receiver, but Jamar Chase is way better of a wide receiver than him. And then you have sort of this, split running back situation where both running backs will probably get both, some carries, split carries. So not having that big, focus of Jamar Chase is going to make it the Bengals offense a little bit easier on defenses, and it's just going to make the Bengals, even with a healthy Joe Burrow, not as good or as scary of an offense as they would be with him.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Okay, so now we're going to move on. Those are all the main headlines. Like I said before, we'll do this by the week headlines that come up. So now we are going to go ahead on into the games, the predictions. So how this is going to work is I'm going to say the prediction or the team, and then Pr3ssix will say who he thinks is going to win that game, and then I will say who I think is going to win the game after that. So our first game, Thursday Night Football, probably, I'm not going to lie, I think Thursday and Friday are going to be probably the two best games of this week outside of Monday night. But we have the Chiefs versus the Ravens, or Ravens at the Chiefs.
I think the Ravens go in and snag this one. The Chiefs, we saw it last year. They lost to the Lions week 1. I think the Chiefs just always get a slow start. We see it year after year. Lamar and the Ravens offense with Derrick Henry this year, these new additions, they're gonna come out. They're gonna be hungry for this game, and this will be a good start for the Ravens season right here.
I'm the opposite of you. I think the Chiefs are going to win this game, and I know they lost to Detroit last year for the opening game, but they don't have Kadarius Toney this time, so no dropping potential first down passes. Hopefully, no dropping pick sixes or any of that stuff. This is going to be a good game though. This is 100% going to be. I think it's really anyone's game. It's going to come down to potentially a defensive fest, or whoever has the ball last is going to determine who ends up winning this game. But this is as well going to be a potential, playoff matchup. So I wouldn't say a loss for either of these teams is going to be super, super detrimental to their season. But this is going to be a great game. Like I said, I think the Chiefs are going to win this one. Then we have our Friday game in Brazil, Green Bay versus Philadelphia, and neither of them are wearing green because apparently you can't wear green in Brazil for, I don't remember if it's national color of the country or gangs, whatever, but the Eagles are wearing black and white. I don't know what Green Bay is wearing, but who do you have in this game?
I got Green Bay. Might be a little biased, but I'm a big Green Bay fan. Uh, I've heard there's a big Green Bay fan base in Brazil, so I'm thinking we have fan advantage there in Brazil. I like our offense this year. We have one of the best wide receiver rooms in the league. Jordan Love just got that extension. I think he's gonna come out. He's gonna be prepared, and I think we'll be able to outplay the Eagles defense and get the win in Brazil.
I agree. I got the Packers as well. Jordan Love's coming off the end of the season last year where he was extremely good. And the Eagles, not that is a too big of a deal, but we're without James Bradbury for I think at least 4 to 6 weeks from an injury. So they're going to have a rookie, whether it's Cooper Jean or the other guy, I forgot his name, who they drafted out of Toledo. They're going to have probably one of them playing the other side. And I think Jordan Love is just, it's going to be a high scoring passing game, and Jordan Love is going to cook. I hope he does. I took him in a parlay for over 255 passing yards, and he's my fantasy quarterback. So I think the Packers are going to win this, though. It's going to be a high scoring electric game. Up next, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Atlanta Falcons.
I got the Falcons running away with this one. Steelers offense, I don't think we'll be able to compete with the Falcons defense. The Falcons went out the last 2 years. They've picked up great free agents, had great drafts, and this defense is looking stacked. They got Kirk Cousins. Their offense is looking up. They got Bijan, new offensive coordinator. I mean, this team is stacked, honestly. And we just don't know what the Russell Wilson Steelers look like yet, and I'm not buying into them. They got George Pickens as their wide receiver 1, and that's not something I can trust. He's 1 week he's good for 100 yards, next week he's got 20. You just never know with the Steelers offense, so I'm taking Atlanta.
Maybe I'm the minority for this, but dude, I think Pittsburgh's going to come out in Atlanta and take the win. The offense may be a little sketch, but that defense and Kirk Cousins coming off a injury and Achilles tear, we'll see how he plays. I think he's going to ball out this year, but that first game he may have to shake off the rust, and I think he's going to, whether it's a fumble or a couple interceptions, I think he's going to make a couple of turnovers, and that's going to somehow keep the Steelers in this game, whether the offense is doing good or bad. And I want to see Russ succeed in Pittsburgh. Whether or not, people are just going to say he's washed. We'll see how it goes throughout the first couple of weeks, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm in the minority for this, but I think Pittsburgh is somehow, some way, going to just squeak by and pull this one out. Up next, Arizona Cardinals at the Buffalo Bills.
This is a no-brainer to me. I mean, you gotta take the Bills here. Cardinals don't have anything to prove. Their defense is terrible. Josh Allen is gonna light up this Cardinals defense, and it's gonna be a blowout.
I agree. I mean, they're playing in Buffalo as well, which, playing in Buffalo is no easy task, but the Cardinals are without a doubt one of the worst teams in the NFL, especially on the defensive side. So, if you have fantasy, maybe you have Marvin Harrison or Kyler or James Conner, maybe this still is a good game, against that Buffalo defense, especially passing wise in a PPR league. But Buffalo is going to easily win this. If they don't, I'm going to be surprised. Next up, we have the Tennessee Titans at the Chicago Bears against Caleb Williams, the first overall pick.
I'm taking the Bears on this one. I saw a stat today that a rookie quarterback hasn't won their opening game since 2002. I think Caleb Williams changes that. I think this Titans offense under Will Levis is not going to be able to produce against this Bears defense. And I think the Bears offense revamped with Roma Dunze, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. It's gonna look great against this Tennessee Titans defense, and I think this is gonna be another blowout.
The Titans also don't have Derrick Henry anymore. They have Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears, which I'm not going to lie, I don't think they're supposedly splitting carries, but I think by the end of the season, Tajay Spears, unless he gets hurt, is going to be the clear RB1 in Tennessee. But I agree with you. That Bears offense is the best it's probably ever been in years. Even before getting Caleb Williams, through all that stuff, getting DJ Moore, getting Roma Dunze this draft as well. This offense is looking stacked. Their defense, it may not seem based on the records of previous seasons, but their defense has always been pretty solid. And with hopefully, Caleb Williams in there and a better offense and, stuff like that, I think the Bears are going to have a pretty good season, but they're going to easily take down the Titans. I think it may be close, in the first half or the first quarter, but I think, by the end of the game, the Bears will win by 2 to 3 scores. Up next, we have New England Patriots versus the Cincinnati Bengals.
I don't think New England stands a chance in this one. Their offense is not very good. They got Jacoby Brissett at the helm with some mid wide receivers in, I don't even know. They got over there. Jalen Polt.
He's a rookie. They got
Kendrick Bourne's out, right?
I think Kendrick Bourne's out. They're probably going to go run heavy with Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson. So I'm going to expect a lot of running for the New England Patriots.
And this Bengals defense is just going to outpower the Patriots. I mean, it's going to be crazy. And, I mean, we know the Bengals. They got a decent offense. Even if Jamar Chase doesn't play this game, I think they'll be able to take care of business. They still got T. Higgins out there, like we said. They're solid. They have solid wide receiver depth. And the Zach Moss and Chase Brown backfield they're just going to be too much for the Patriots, I think.
I agree. I think even if Jamar Chase with his holdout doesn't play this game, I think Cincinnati easily takes this game as well. I mean, New England probably going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL and probably the worst team. I'm going to say the worst team in the AFC. So, you know, if they don't win this game, Cincinnati, there's going to be a lot of questions surrounding them. Up next, we have the Houston Texans at the Indianapolis Colts.
I'm taking the Texans in this one. Uh, their offense is looking good this year. They picked up Joe Mixon in the offseason, as long as Stephon Diggs to round out that receiver core with Tank Dell and Nico Collins, and they got Dalton Schultz at tight end. Um, their offense is good. I think Anthony Richardson still has more to prove. From his preseason, he kind of looks spotty with his accuracy. I don't think he's going to be able to take on this Houston Texans defense, which is pretty decent in their own sense. And I think the Texans are going to take this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm taking the Houston Texans as well. I think that Houston offense is just going to be too much for the Indianapolis Colts defense. And even if the Colts offense can keep up with the Houston offense, it's going to be like one of those, like, 39 to, 30 type of games where it's going to be super high scoring. But I think, an Anthony Richardson turnover, depending on what version of Anthony Richardson comes to play this game, is going to be the difference in this game essentially. But the other question is, which Anthony Richardson are they going to get? Are they going to get, because we've seen two sides of Anthony Richardson, whether you've seen him in college or his few games in the NFL. There's games where he looks like could be one of the best players in the NFL, and we've seen the other version of him where he looks like he could potentially be a bust or just, kind of the next Justin Fields essentially. Next teams are the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Miami Dolphins.
I'm taking the Dolphins in this one. Um, I think they got a good offense there. Tyreek and Waddle are both healthy according to reports after their injuries this summer. I think Tua and that offense is going to be able to outmatch this Jaguars defense. And I think the Jacksonville team has still some stuff to work on. They lost Calvin Ridley this offseason, so their wide receiver room looks a little bit different. They also picked up Brian Thomas. He's still unproven, and we just got to see what they can do down there in Jacksonville. But I'm taking the Dolphins in this one.
I agree. I'm taking the Dolphins as well. This game was I want to say it was the highest over on this game. So if I'm not mistaken, there's potential this game is going to be a super high scoring game. But yeah, I think the Dolphins are just going to overpower them. I have Tyreek and ETN on a little parlay, so as long as those hit, I'll be happy. But I got the Miami Dolphins taking this one. All right, up next, we have the Carolina Panthers at the New Orleans Saints.
All right, I'm taking the Panthers in this one. This might be a shock, but I think the Panthers, they went out and got a new head coach this season. I think it's gonna be great. They built up that offensive line for Bryce Young, so Bryce Young's gonna have more time to go through his progressions, find his wide receivers, which they also added Deontay Johnson in the offseason, which will just help him bolster that offense even more. Um, I know they're without Jonathan Brooks for the beginning of the season at running back, but I think the running game will still be decent with this new offensive line, and I think this new offensive approach for the Panthers will outmatch the Saints. The Saints offense is not good under Derek Carr. Dennis Allen might be the worst head coach in the league, and I see the Panthers winning this game.
I agree with you. I'm taking the Panthers as well. I'm honestly finding this surprising, but according to the ESPN fantasy pick'ems, 91% of the people participating are taking the New Orleans Saints. Very surprising to me. But I got the Panthers as well. I'm just not sold on the Saints. Derek Carr, he's good if you got Alvin Kamara in your fantasy league, but he's just inconsistent. That offense at times seems very inconsistent. Same thing with the defense as well. I think New Orleans, I'm going to say it right here, right now. I think New Orleans is going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. And it would not surprise me if they have the same record or the Panthers have a win or two more than the Saints by the end of the year. All right, up next, we have the Minnesota Vikings at the New York Giants.
I'm taking the Minnesota Vikings here. I think Justin Jefferson alone is enough to beat the New York Giants. He proved it last year. It doesn't matter who's at quarterback, he can still go out and make plays. They revamped the running game in Minnesota with Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has always been a good runner his whole career, and I think he's gonna destroy this New York Giants defense. Um, the Giants on offense looked terrible in the preseason. Daniel Jones couldn't get anything done, and I think the Vikings are just gonna be able to squeak this one out against the Giants here.
This game is going to come down to turnovers. Whichever team has more turnovers, whatever quarterback throws more interceptions, is probably going to lose this game. I'm curious to see how Malik Neighbors does. Will he be requesting a trade halfway through the season because Daniel Jones is that bad? We'll find out. But I'm going to take the New York Giants. I don't know why. I just feel like the Giants are just going to come out, win this game. But like I said, this game is just going to come down to pretty much whichever quarterback ends up throwing more interceptions is most likely going to lose this, not from a turnover differential game, but just from a where the quarterbacks are going to throw the interception, what part of the field. And as long as the other team is going to be able to capitalize on those interceptions, that's going to be the difference in this game. Up next, we have the Las Vegas Raiders at the Los Angeles Chargers.
I think I'm gonna roll with the Chargers on this one. New head coach in Harbaugh, I think, is really gonna revamp this team. The Raiders under Minshew, they're not bad on offense. I just think Devontae Adams is dealing with a kind of like a lingering injury. I believe it's
Mm-hmm.
his groin, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's gonna affect his play, and I don't believe in this Raiders running back room in Zamir White and Alexander Madison. We saw Madison last year on the Vikings. He looked terrible. Zamir White, very little sample size for him in those last few weeks of the season last year. But I like the Chargers here. I don't know. Just give me the Chargers.
Funny you say that because I'm taking the Las Vegas Raiders. The question is going to be, can that Raiders, or mostly Max Crosby, how much can he disrupt Justin Herbert? That's going to be a big focal point in this game, I think, along with, who's going to be that wide receiver one, or who's going to be that go-to guy for Herbert. Is it going to be the rookie Lad McConkey? Is it going to be Josh Palmer, who, his games last year, they were up and down. He had some good games, and he had some games where it seemed like he was non-existent. Does Quentin Johnson take a big step forward, be able to catch more of the footballs thrown his way? Those are going to be the big focal points, I think. I'm taking the Raiders. I don't know. I think this game is just going to be, a slugfest, and then it's going to come down to, a game-winning field goal. Okay, up next is the Denver Broncos at the Seattle Seahawks.
Seattle Seahawks made a lot of moves in the offseason. Went out and got a new coaching staff. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
their defense is pretty solid. They got Geno at the helm still. Pretty good wide receiver core. But I'm taking the Broncos, man. I like their offense. I like Bo Nix, uh, and Sean Payton. And I think they're gonna surprise people this week. They're gonna come out. Cortland Sutton's gonna look like a star wide receiver with Bo Nix. It's gonna be a different look at the Broncos offense. Javonte Williams is gonna take a big leap forward from last year, and I think the running game for the Broncos is gonna look good this year. and I'm taking the Broncos here.
I'm taking the Seattle Seahawks, not because I'm biased towards them, but you're facing it's Bo Nix, rookie quarterback, first game in Seattle against Mike McDonald, who we saw him with the Ravens defense last year. The Ravens defense was really good last year. I just don't see Bo Nix being able to go into Seattle up against, Mike McDonald, whether he's going to be calling the defensive plays or he's just, head coach. But I just don't see him going into Seattle against, a defensive mastermind like McDonald and being able to win the game. I think there's a potential this game could be close, but I think the defensive schemes Mike McDonald has is going to make some is going to allow Bone Mix to make some mistakes, and whether that's just inaccurate passes or interceptions, because let's not forget we got a healthy Tariq Woolen, and even though we traded Michael Jackson, the defense, the secondary is absolutely stacked. The biggest question though is going to be how is that front seven going to just go up against the run? Because if anything's going to beat Seattle, it's probably going to be the run. But I'm taking the Seahawks. All right, up next, we have the Dallas Cowboys at the Cleveland Browns.
I'm taking the Browns here. This game's gonna come down to the Deshaun Watson's performance. If he can make a bounce back, and if he can look like the Deshaun Watson we knew in Texas, then I think the Browns can easily win this game. They went out and got Jerry Jeudy this offseason. Deshaun Watson has no excuses to not go crazy this year. Um, I like the Browns' offense. Their defense is even better. They got a lot of depth in that defense. They got Myles Garrett. Their secondary is great. The Cowboys, I'm not so sure what their running game is looking like. They got washed Ezekiel Elliott. I believe he's heading that backfield right now with Rico Dowdle as well in there. But I just think that this Browns defensive front is going to put a lot of pressure on the Cowboys, and I think the Browns are going to be able to take it.
I've heard some rumors that Rico Dowell is apparently RB1 or going to be RB1, but I'm going to predict this as well. I think he is RB1 by the end of the year, 100%. Maybe even halfway through the year as well. Rico Dowell is going to be RB1. I want to say they also did sign, I don't know when he's going to play, but they did sign Dalvin Cook. So, there's a chance Zeke Elliott becomes a third string RB by the end of it. I'm taking the Cowboys, though. Like you said, it's going to come down to how Deshaun Watson plays. But I feel like this game is going to be a mixture of both teams struggling on offense a little bit and the Cowboys just having some big chunk plays. Because we saw last year how good that Cleveland defense could be, but they did give up a fair share of big explosive plays. And in a game like this where we don't know which Deshaun Watson will even get or how good Deshaun Watson is going to be, I think those however many it is, 2, 3, 4, 5 big explosive plays that the Cowboys get is going to be the difference in this. Or we could see the Cowboys just blow them out because the offense of the Browns is just going to stall. Right, up next we have the Washington Commanders at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
This Washington team looks a lot different than it was just last year. They went out and got rookie Jaden Daniels in the draft. Their running back room looks different with the addition of Austin Eckler. Their defense also looks a little different. And under Dan Quinn, this team it looks a lot different than last year. That being said, I'm taking the Bucks. We saw their playoff success last year. I think this team is just better than the Commanders on paper. I think Jaden Daniels it's gonna take him a few seconds to get into the NFL to adjust. And I think the Bucks offense under Mayfield and Mike Evans, I think this offense is gonna look good, and they're gonna beat the Commanders week 1.
I'm taking the Tampa Bay Bucks as well. I think Jane Daniels is going to come out absolute balling week 1, but I'm still concerned about that Commanders secondary, which was without a doubt the worst secondary last year, or one of the worst secondary. I mean, we saw what AJ Brown did to them, and Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, even Rashard White at running back. Like, this game could essentially go to a little bit of a shootout, but I'm taking the Bucks. I just think they're overall just a better team, and I think that defense, their defense is surprisingly a little bit underrated, but good as well, especially against the run. So, especially if Tampa goes up 2 scores, or some sort of like 17 like 3 or 17-0 score, Jay and Daniels is going to have to throw the football, and I feel like even as good as Jaden Daniels could be this year, I think first game he's going to make a few mistakes, and the Bucks are going to take this. On to the Sunday night football game, we have the Los Angeles Rams at the Detroit Lions.
I'm taking the Rams here. I think this is a Matthew Stafford revenge tour out here in Detroit. Uh, the Lions, I feel like their defense has gotten better. They picked up a new corner in the draft. Their secondary is looking better. But I believe in this Rams offense. I mean, you got Kyron, who was a top fantasy running back last year, with Puka and Cooper Kupp, who are also great weapons on that offense. I think these offensive weapons are just better than Detroit Lions defense. Um, and I think the Lions offense is good, but I think the Rams made some good moves this offseason, especially in the draft, to pick up some key defensive positions, and I think they're going to be able to take this one.
I'm taking the Lions on this one. I think honestly, this could be the year where Detroit at least makes the Super Bowl. I think they're going to be a Super Bowl contender or a deep playoff team throughout the entire year. I just don't see, Kyron Williams as well. He's rumored to be taking kick returns now. So, if he gets injured, that could be some trouble for the Rams, just not just for this game, but, in general for the whole season. But I think that Detroit Lions offense is just going to be a little too explosive. They did make some upgrades on defense, like you said as well. But this game is going to be either a shootout, or it's going to come down to something not silly, but it's going to come down to the defense. And I think Aiden Hutchinson, is going to get a couple of crucial sacks, which could potentially, be the difference in this game. On to our Monday night football game, we have the New York Jets at the San Francisco 49ers.
I'm taking the Jets here. I Aaron Rodgers, cross my fingers, is not going to come out and get injured week 1 like he did last year. I think this Jets offense is really good. We know the Jets defense is good. That's what kept them in most of their games last year. Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson, they're going to eat against the San Francisco team. I think the San Francisco 49ers have only regressed on defense, and I think their offense might be a little sluggish week 1, especially since Brandon Ayuk just got signed and Trent Williams just got signed. Those players haven't been practicing, so I think them getting back into the swing of things, it might take them a little bit, and I think this Jets team is going to surprise people.
See, I originally, for the upcoming, I don't even know, since when I did these, I had the Niners. But after the preseason, I know it's preseason. You can say what it is about preseason, but, after looking at Brock Purdy during the preseason, I'm going to have to take the Jets, I think. I think, the NFL script writers are going to say, Aaron Rodgers coming back 1 year after he gets injured, and he's going to come into San Fran. He's going to win. This is going to be a close game. 100%. This is going to be a close game, but the Niners defense has only gotten worse as well. And the offense, like, it's going to be carried by CMC, and we'll see how Purdy has done good against good defenses, but he's also done iffy against good defenses. So I think this Jets defense, though, is going to be a problem for not just the Niners, but for pretty much every team. They have the potential to be one of the, without a doubt, the best defense in the NFL this year. And then a healthy Aaron Rodgers coming back would not surprise me if this team makes a deep playoff run, but I'm taking the Jets. Now, one thing I forgot to mention in the headlines is I want your opinions on the new kickoff rules. What do we think of them?
You know, I was watching college football this weekend, and man, the kickoffs look so much more fun. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a fan of the new NFL kickoffs. I think it's weird. I think it doesn't give many opportunities for big plays. I think you're gonna see a lot of touchbacks and flags thrown on kickoffs just because people just are not used to these new rules, and I think it's not going to be that exciting this year.
I think the new kickoff system is going to be good for fantasy football. I think there's going to be more opportunities to get kick return touchdowns, which is supposed to bring excitement to the game, but at the same time, right, it's going to be good for fantasy football, but I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like I need to watch it more because, after watching college football this week, there were a bunch of kickoffs that went into the end zone, and I know you got like some powerhouses going up against some no-name colleges here and there, but the kickoffs in general, the original kickoff, as you want to put it, it just seemed, maybe because it's college as well, it feels like anybody can break off a big sort of, play on those kickoffs. But this kickoff rule, I think there's going to be a couple kickers who do some finessing and are going to find some sort of rhythm for it to where it like essentially makes it worse for the other team. The other team's going to be starting at like the 15 or the 20-yard line instead of the 25 where the touchback was. So I think it's just going to be interesting to see how this essentially just goes. All right, so we have done our predictions. Now we're going to move on to our auto lock game, and pretty much what this is this is going to be where we each individually pick a game where we think the team has a guaranteed win, like no ands, ifs, or buts. This team is going to win this matchup. What is your auto lock game?
My auto lock is the Bengals versus the Patriots. I think this Patriots team doesn't stand a chance. The Bengals defense is gonna overpower this Patriots offense. They have no weapons. Their only hope is Ramondre Stevenson, and he was mid all last year, so I'm taking the Bengals 100%.
Look, if you're playing this on the ESPN fantasy app, it's called the Eliminator Challenge. A good pick, this isn't my pick, but a good pick for you guys watching, I think would be the Bills over the Cardinals. I think Buffalo is just going to easily win this game, but my pick for this is I think Seattle is going to easily take care of Denver, like I said before. It's a rookie quarterback playing at Lumen Field with the 12s against a defensive mastermind who is now the head coach of the Seahawks. He's going to give Bo Nix a lot. It's going to be a welcome to the NFL moment for Bo Nix, let's just say. And I think Seattle, without a doubt, is going to win this game. All right. Since this is the first week as well, we won't have this every week, but we are going to go into our division predictions and then, which I didn't add on the sheet, but our Super Bowl predictions as well. But Starting off with the division predictions, we're going to start off with the AFC East. You can just say, who do you think is going to win it? Or you can give a list of them in every order from first to fourth.
All right, this is how I have the AFC shaken out at the end of the season. I got the Jets at the top, finishing 14-3. They're going to be dominant this year. Their division is not that great this year. They're going to take it. Dolphins at 8-9. Uh, they're mid. All right, Bills at 7-10. They've regressed a lot with the loss of Stephon, and I think the Patriots are finishing last at 1-16.
Those are bold. Those are some very bold statements. So for my AFC East predictions, I have the Dolphins in first place over the Jets, but I think that can go either way. The Bills in third, and then the Patriots obviously in last. They're going to be, without a doubt, the worst team in the AFC, 100%. Now, you could say the Jets could come in first as well, but I think the Dolphins are going to take that. And I have the Jets over the Bills as well. The Bills have a way harder schedule than the Jets. So I feel like a healthy Aaron Rodgers, a healthy Breece Hall as well, a healthy defense. The Jets are going to be a team you don't want to play against, whether it's towards the end of the season or in the playoffs. But I do think as well, there's a potential that the Dolphins, the Jets, and the Bills could all make the playoffs. Now, obviously, I think it's only going to depend on the AFC North as well, which we'll talk about next. But I do think there's a potential that 3 of the 4 teams in the AFC East could make the playoffs this year. Moving on to the AFC North.
For the AFC North, I got the Ravens winning it at 11-6. The Bengals right behind them at 10-7. I think this comes down to strength of schedule and the Jamar Chase deal. I think the Ravens are also a more well-rounded team. That's why I have them finishing first in that division. I got the Browns at 8-9. It's gonna be a weird season for the Browns. See how they handle the Ravens. 2 Ravens games, 2 Bengals games, and 2 Steelers games. Those games are always gritty. The AFC North games are always gritty, and I think the Browns, they're just not gonna go the Browns' way this year. And then for the first time under Mike Tomlin, the Steelers with a below 500 record, finishing last at 6-11.
You see, I have the same outcome. Same, positions. I think the Ravens are going to win this division, followed by the Bengals, then the Browns, then the Steelers. But even when the Steelers had Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, all these, quarterbacks, they still managed to stay over 500. And I think that this entire division, all the teams will be at least 9-8 by the end of the season, with the potential for 3 of the 4 teams, essentially like the AFC East potentially, 3 of the 4 teams could make the playoffs. Obviously, I think the Steelers are going to be last in this division. This division is just stacked. There's no other way to put it. This division is stacked, but I do see all the teams finishing above 500. The Ravens are going to easily take this division, though, followed by the Bengals, then the Browns, and then the Steelers. Up next is the AFC South.
I got the Texans winning this division at 10-7, with the Colts falling right behind them at 9-8. It's all dependent on Anthony Richardson's play this year. But I think the Texans are a better team. They're gonna run away with that division. Jaguars at 8-9. I think they'll have a good start to the season, but I think they're gonna fall off. It seems to be a yearly trend with the Jaguars. They start strong, and then somewhere along the line, their team just kind of disappears. And then I have the Titans finishing at 6-11. They lost Derrick Henry. This team's not gonna be good anymore, and that's why they're fourth.
I agree with you 100%. The Texans are going to win this division. I don't really think it's going to be a competition. I do have the Jaguars in front of the Colts, though. Like, I know the Jaguars are such a hit or miss team. They can be good, then they can fall off. But I just don't see the Colts having enough steam. And especially if Anthony Richardson gets hurt and is out for, at least 4 weeks. I just don't see the Colts having enough steam in the tank to leapfrog the Jaguars into a second place. And then we can all agree the Titans are just not going to be good this year at all. They'll probably finish, anywhere from 3 to 5 wins, give or take, maybe one, maybe 6 wins at max. But the Texans are going to win this division without a chance, and it wouldn't surprise me. The AFC South and obviously the AFC West, which we'll get into right after this, if the team that wins the division is going to be the only team from that division in the playoffs. Up next, we have the AFC West.
I think the clear winners of this division are definitely the Chiefs. I have them finishing 12-5. I think they sweep all the games in the AFC West. They don't really have much competition. I have the Chargers at 9-8. I think they're a solid squad. They have playoff potential, maybe wild card potential. Broncos at 8-9. It's gonna be a learning season for Bo Nix. And I think next year they'll be even better. And the Raiders at 6-11. I'm not sure what's going on in Las Vegas. I mean, that whole team is a mess. Yeah, I'm not sure what stage they are at in their rebuild or just in general, but yeah, they're fourth.
I have the Chiefs. There's really nothing you need to say. The Chiefs are going to easily take this division. Like, they could probably sit out their division games and still win the division. Next, I have the Raiders and then the Chargers. I think this could flip flop either way, though. They're going to end with either the same record or, be a game apart from each other, whether that's over or under 500, like 9-8, 8-9. That remains to be determined, but they're going to finish. I think the Raiders are going to have the tiebreaker, though, as well in that. So the Raiders will be second, the Chargers will be third, and then I have the Broncos coming in fourth in that division. It's going to be a learning season for Bo Nix, like you said, but I think that Broncos defense is just going to falter towards the end of the season. It's going to sputter. You're going to see, the Broncos defense that we saw at times last year outside of Pat Surtain. They don't have Justin Simmons. They let him go. So I don't have confidence in the Broncos defense, and I don't have confidence in a rookie quarterback every week being able to essentially carry the defense and grind out wins. Up next, we have the NFC East.
Okay, I have both the Cowboys and the Eagles finishing at 11-6, but I think the Cowboys have the tiebreaker there. So the Cowboys are finishing first, the Eagles at second at 11-6. Then the rest of the division is just bad. I got the Commanders at 6-11. They're not gonna look good this year. Jaden Daniels, it's a learning year for him. He's not gonna see much success, especially with that defense that he has to back him up. And I think the Giants finished 2-15, and it's time for them to move on from Daniel Jones, and maybe they have a top 5 pick in the drafts the next year, and they can snag a good QB in the draft. So yeah, that's about it.
I mean, I agree. I 100% agree. My list is exactly the same. Cowboys are going to win the division. Same thing with the Eagles. I think, like last year, I think the Eagles are going to sputter at the end, which, they may have a game up on the Cowboys for, the first 8-10 weeks of the season, but the Cowboys at one point in time will overtake them, win the division, and then the Commanders coming in third place, and then the Giants in last. The Giants are just a mess, I think that they should have moved on they should have never gave Daniel Jones that contract extension. I don't know why they did, but hey, maybe they'll go ahead, get a good draft pick, draft Shedeur Sanders with like the third overall pick, and we'll be back where we are in the same spot again next year or in 4 years or however long they decide to keep Shedeur for. Up next is the NFC North.
All right, all right. I gotta have Green Bay finishing first. All right. 13-4. Green Bay wins the division. I think this division comes down to the Green Bay and Lions division or games. I think Green Bay sweeps them in their games this season. We beat them once last year. I think we're gonna sweep them this year. We know that team in and out. So I have Green Bay at 13-4, Lions at 12-5, still solid, still a Super Bowl contender. Bears at 8-9. I think it's a solid year for Caleb Williams. I think it's just a learning year, and it's a hard division for him to play in. And I don't think they're winning many division games this year. Only against the Vikings is the only games I have them winning in this division. And the Vikings are finishing 4-13. Justin Jefferson can't carry the whole squad, man. Come on.
Yeah, I think the Lions are going to win this division, though. I think like this year, especially more than last year, and maybe next year as well. But like, from here to maybe 2026 at max, it's going to be almost kind of seem like at least get to the Super Bowl or a lost season for the Lions. So I think they're going to win this division. Packers, probably a playoff team. Actually, not probably. They are a playoff team. They're going to finish second in this division. Then the Bears in third. I don't think they're going to finish above 500. If they do, it's going to be 9-8. But they'll probably finish 8-9. That's my guess. And then the Vikings, yeah, they just need a quarterback, and I don't think Sam Darnold for the entire year is the solution. The NFC South.
This one's going to be interesting. I really think it can go a lot of different ways, but my initial prediction is the Falcons having a dominant season. I think they can easily sweep all these division games. I have them finishing at 14-3 at the top of their division.
Whoa.
Then I have the Bucks at 9-8, solid wild card team. I think they'll have a good playoff run. Panthers at 8-9. I think I think this team is very much improved from last year. Just short of the playoffs. I could see them getting a wild card spot though. This might sound crazy. I could see them getting a wild card spot. It just depends on how things shape out. And then Saints at 5-12. They're easily the worst team in that division, in my opinion.
I have the Falcons winning the division, but I don't have them going 14-3. Actually, you look at their schedule though compared to the Bucks. I think it comes down to Falcons and Bucks. You look at the Falcons schedule, it is so easy. It is way easier compared to the Bucks schedule, and just because of that, Falcons are gonna win. But I feel like they're gonna be, I wouldn't say they're gonna be Cowboys-ish, but they may put up one of the best records in the whole NFL, but it's going to be kind of fluky because of their schedule. I have the Bucks in second just because their schedule is a little harder, but I do think, it's going to be tough, but whoever wins that division is going to be obviously in the playoffs, but they're going to be borderline. Whoever comes in second in the NFC South is going to be borderline playoff, like a 7 seed, maybe a 6 seed. It's gonna be really interesting to watch. Then I have the Panthers in third, and then the Saints. I think the Panthers are gonna improve. I think Bryce Young's gonna have a way better season than he did his rookie season. He'll have better. He's just gonna have better players all around him. And then the Saints, they're not going to be as bad as the Cardinals or the Giants, but they're still going to be probably one of the bottom 6 teams in the NFL this year. The last division we have is the NFC West.
I got the 49ers winning this division. I think they're the most talented team, and I think they had the best chance. I had them finishing at 11-6. And then right behind them, I have the Rams finishing at 10-7. I think they're also a solid team, and I think they're just better than the Seahawks and Cardinals in general. But I do have them splitting the series with both the Seahawks and the Rams. Wait, no, what am I saying? I have the Rams splitting the series with the Seahawks and the 49ers. So we'll see how that shakes out. Seahawks at 9-8. Again, a cusp wild card team. Depends on Geno Smith. He was kind of shaky last year. The whole Seahawks team was a little shaky. I think they made good improvements at coach and I think that'll definitely help them. And then I have Cardinals at 5-12. They're not going to get much done this year. Um, but their offense will be fun to watch with McBride and Marvin Harrison and Kyler healthy again. I think it'll be a fun offense to watch. I don't think they're going to be able to do much strictly because of their defense. But yeah,
Yeah, their defense is going to be probably one of the, if not the worst in the NFL. I have the Niners winning this division. I don't think there's any ands, ifs, or buts about it. They're just objectively the best team in the division without a doubt. Then I have the Rams on a division tiebreaker over the Seahawks. Somehow, some way, the Seahawks end up losing. Both they're gonna probably lose both games to the Niners. They'll somehow, some way, lose both games to the Rams. They always somehow seem to, and then they'll sweep the Cardinals in the division games. But yeah, I have the Rams in second on a tiebreaker, and then the Seahawks, then the Cardinals. But I do think it's gonna be tough, but there's probably for each division outside the NFC West only two legit teams that you could say have a potential to make the playoffs. I think the NFC West, you could say the Niners, the Rams, and the Seahawks have a chance to go ahead and make the playoffs. But the rest of the divisions in the NFC, there's only two legit teams. And then the AFC, the South and the West, there's only one team, if we're being honest. And then I think the AFC North and the AFC East have a legitimate shot to get three teams into the playoffs. Super Bowl predictions, though. What's your teams you got in the Super Bowl, and who do you think is going to win it?
look, I have the Lions against the Jets in the Super Bowl. I think this will be a this would be a super fun matchup. Aaron Rodgers playing the Detroit Lions, the team he's played for years, and I think the Jets win the Super Bowl. I think they best the Lions in the Super Bowl. I think the Jets defense could potentially be the best defense in the NFL this year, and I think that'll definitely help them. Their offense is solid. I think they had the best case for the Super Bowl, and I think the Lions in the NFC, this is their year. This is their year or bust. I feel like they're only going to regress from here. They have too many people to sign. I think this is their year to make the Super Bowl, and then Detroit can finally say they've accomplished something.
The Jets is a bold, bold prediction. The NFC, I think the Lions. I think the Lions get their revenge on the Niners. They're going to go to the Super Bowl. The Lions. The Cowboys are going to do their usual, cowboy thing, be good in the regular season and then somehow lose, whether it's in the wild card now or in the divisional. They're going to somehow throw it away. The Falcons, Bucks, whoever wins that division, it's going to be a fluke for the Falcons if they have like a 14-3 record or whatever it is. But I got the Lions, and then I just don't think the Chiefs are going to have the firepower again to, repeat or even make it to the Super Bowl or the AFC Championship. This is tough, man. I think the AFC Championship is going to be Ravens Jets. It's going to be real tough. I think the Ravens, you know, I think the
Okay.
Ravens are going to make it to the Super Bowl. So we're going to have Lions, Ravens, and, maybe I've just been watching a little or looking at a little too much Lions fans stuff on Twitter or the internet, but I feel like the Lions have a real legitimate shot of winning this Super Bowl this year. So I'm going to take the Lions over the Ravens in the Super Bowl.
Wow. All right. That's bold.
As bold. The Jets winning is very bold as well. I feel like they
Hey,
could
look,
do it though. That defense is scary.
if it comes down to Ravens, Jets, I'm taking the Jets all day, strictly because Lamar has proven nothing in the playoffs. He has two MVPs and he has almost zero playoff success to show for it. So for that reason, I would take Aaron Rodgers with more experience. and I think a better supporting cast to win the AFC. So yeah.
If the Ravens win, they're not winning it through the air. They're winning it through Derrick Henry. Even though he is getting up in age, I feel like this season as well, or these, maybe his next season as well, is going to be, his biggest opportunity to get a Super Bowl ring. And Derrick Henry is going to play like he needs to get one. All right, up next, we won't do this every week as well since this is the beginning of the season predictions, week 1, but we're going to go over some player predictions, starting off with who do you think is going to be the MVP this year?
MVP, I gotta go with Jordan Love. All right, might be biased, but he has this huge contract, one of the biggest in the NFL, and I think the Packers, looking at their schedule, there's only 2 to 3 games that I would say are instant losses. I think this team has such a high ceiling, and I think Jordan Love is a big reason for that. I see him having an Aaron Rodgers type season, um, 4,000 plus yards, 40 plus touchdowns. I think it can happen, and I think he is my favorite for MVP this year.
I think the front runners, you're going to have your usual Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, somehow, some way, Josh Allen's name is going to come up, even though he's not really in the race. But look, I have to agree with you. I think Jordan Love is going to win MVP. And for some reason, if he doesn't win MVP, I think he's still in the MVP race or the conversation for the majority of the year. But, he's coming off a super hot streak to end last season. And I think he's going to pick up where he left off, especially in this first game. And he's just going to ball out this year. People may say this is a reach, but I got Jordan Love as MVP as well.
Sir.
Moving on to Offensive Player of the Year. Who do you got?
I got CD Lamb. I think CD Lamb, he had an insane season last year. I think with this new contract, he has to prove this contract, and I think he will. I think he'll go out and do that. The Cowboys are going to play hard this year. Um, he wants to prove to Jerry Jones that he's worth all that money. He's gonna ball out. I'm telling you, he's gonna ball out. He's gonna have a great year. He's my favorite for offensive player of the year.
CMC won last year, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think CMC and CeeDee Lamb are going to be front runners, but I'm taking Tyreek Hill. I feel like you could have made an argument as well that Tyreek Hill should have and probably should have won last year if it wasn't for the CMC touchdown streak that went on for so many weeks. But I think he gets his quote unquote revenge. I think Tyreek Hill, he's going to ball out this year no matter what, but I think this year is going to be the year he gets that Offensive Player of the Year. Moving on to Defensive Player of the Year now. I personally had no idea. So who do you think is going to win it?
I like TJ Watt this year. I think he's gonna be a big reason why the Steelers stay in a lot of their games. And I think without TJ Watt, the Steelers team maybe max 4 wins. With TJ Watt, I could see them doubling that. I think their success is very dependent on TJ Watt, and for that reason, he's gonna have 13 plus sacks this year. He's gonna be a beast on that Steelers defensive line, and he's my favorite for Defensive Player of the Year.
I'm going with Micah Parsons. I really don't need to explain why. Micah Parsons is an absolute beast. And yeah, I think, the Cowboys, they're not, I wouldn't say their defense is exceptional. It's good, but it's not exceptional. But Micah Parsons, it doesn't matter where you put him on the edge, in between tackles, lined up pretty much over the center. Wherever he is, he's going to probably get double teamed or will be getting double teamed, but it's not going to matter. He's going to have a fantastic year. I'm saying he's going to have minimum 15 sacks, probably 3 to 5 forced fumbles, maybe recover a couple as well. I think TJ Watt, Myles Garrett are going to be close behind in this race, but I'm taking Micah Parsons as the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year. On to Offensive Rookie of the Year. Who do you got?
I'm looking at Marvin Harrison Jr. I think he has been put in a great situation um, with Kyler, and they also have Trey McBride. And that offense, I think they're gonna have more success than people think. Like I said, I think the reason they lose most of their games is strictly because of their defense. But I think Marvin Harrison is gonna have a great year. Um, I'm gonna say around 1,000-yard receiver. I think he definitely has the capability of doing that. And yeah, that's why I'm taking him.
I'm going with Jaden Daniels. Obviously, Caleb Williams is the front runner without a doubt. I think he's the lowest on, all the betting if you do betting. But question with Caleb Williams is, will the pressure get to him? And I think for Jaden Daniels, yes, he was a high overall draft pick, first round, but I don't think he has the same pressure as Caleb Williams done. So I think Jaden Daniels is just going to go out, feel like he doesn't have a lot of pressure on him because the Commanders just aren't expected to do good, not be a playoff contention team. But, as long as they improve, I feel like people are going to say that's a win for the Commanders. And Jaden Daniels is going to go out there, do his thing, incredible dual threat, ball out, throwing, maybe tack on, a couple 100 yards rushing, some rushing touchdowns. I think Jaden Daniels is going to take home Offensive Rookie of the Year. On to Defensive Rookie of the Year. This one, I think, is wide open. Who do you have?
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of good options for this one. I think all the rookie options are kind of well balanced. But my guy is Terrion Arnold for the Detroit Lions. They drafted him this year, and I think he's gonna fill that cornerback number one for that Detroit team. That's a position they badly need, and I think this will help them on their Super Bowl run. I think he's a big part of this defense, and he's gonna help that secondary just be better this year. They weren't great last year, and I think Terrion Arnold is gonna turn that around for Detroit.
This race is wide open. Like you said, it could be Terran Arnold. It could be Dallas Turner. It could be Liatu Latu. Could even be Quinyon Mitchell. But I'm going with Byron Murphy. I just,
Okay.
maybe a little biased here, but I know it's preseason, but Seahawks front interior has struggled. And this guy, I know it's preseason, but he was blowing up run plays. He was getting double teamed in the preseason, and he's going to be Aaron Donald like. He may not live up to Aaron Donald career stats, but every time this man is on the field, he is going to wreak havoc. And hopefully that'll open up, the edge rushers for Seattle to, be able to create more pressure. But he may not have the stats as a Dallas Turner or, even a Terrion Arnold, but I think his effect, his impact is going to be way more noticeable than the stat sheets show. And with a little bit of biasy, maybe I'm picking Byron Murphy for Defensive Player or Defensive Rookie of the Year. I'm not sure if I add this onto our list, but Comeback Player of the Year, who do you have?
I'm gonna go with the obvious choice here. I think it's gotta be Aaron Rodgers.
I agree.
I don't see any other option here. Maybe if Nick Chubb was starting the season off healthy, coming off that terrible knee injury, he might have a chance. But I think Aaron Rodgers has got to be the clear-cut one for me. He's gonna lead this team to a deep playoff run and hopefully a Super Bowl win for the Jets.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. Like, I wouldn't bet that. I wouldn't bet, my life savings on it, but I'm pretty confident that without a doubt, Aaron Rodgers is going to win Comeback Player of the Year. He's going to return to Aaron Rodgers like form, he's going to be the reason the Jets do good. Obviously, their defense is good, but we saw last year and the year before they had a good defense, but the quarterback issues, man, and you're just going to see how good this team truly is with Rodgers back on the field. So there's really no other option either, honestly. It's just going to be Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious choice there.
Moving on to fantasy football. Obviously, none of the teams have played yet, but we did our fantasy draft. How do you
Yep.
feel about your team?
I'm gonna run through my team real quick just so everybody knows what I got, what I'm working with. Um, I got Brock Purdy at QB1 right now. I also have Justin Herbert on the bench. I might switch that. Uh, I'm gonna wait and see how I'm feeling when the time gets there. And then I got Jonathan Taylor at RB1 and Jahmyr Gibbs at RB2. I'm really happy with my running back room. I got those two studs starting at my offense. And I also have Javonte Williams, who's running back one in Denver as of right now. And I also have Jerome Ford on my bench, who's running back one in Cleveland until Nick Chubb gets back, which is going to be a while. So I have good depth at that position. I'm happy with that. Um, for wide receivers, I have Devontae Smith, DK Metcalf, and Chris Godwin that are all starting. Godwin being in the flex right now. And then I have Keenan Allen, Courtland Sutton, Jacoby Myers, and Khalil Shakir on my bench. I think I have decent depth there. Um, I wish I had more of like an alpha wide receiver, kind of like a Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson or Tyreek Hill to round out that wide receiver core. But overall, it's pretty solid. I can't really complain about it. Then I got Trey McBride at tight end. I'm really high on Trey McBride. I drafted him in every league I could this year. I think he's got great upside, especially with Kyler healthy and the addition of Marvin Harrison Jr. This offense is going to have multiple targets, and I think that's only going to increase Trey McBride's productivity. Um, at defense, I did originally draft, I believe I drafted the 49ers defense, but currently I picked up the Bengals defense against that Patriots offense, which we talked about. Uh, it's going to be terrible week one. So I'm rocking with the Bengals week one for my defense. And then I got Dicker the kicker, who just recently signed a deal with the Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, what can go wrong? I mean, my team is set. I'm pretty happy with my team. Like I said, the only thing I wish I had a little bit better of a wide receiver one, but overall, I'm happy with how it shaped out, and I'm looking forward to the season.
Ticker the kicker is a stud. So yeah,
Yes,
I've
sir.
I forgot to mention this is a 12-man league. I want to
Yeah,
say
12 man.
I had either the 6th or the 7th pick in this draft. My quarterback is Jordan Love. I have Jared Goff on the bench, but I'm probably only going to use Jared Goff for that 1 week Jordan Love has a bye week. My RBs are solid. I got Travis Etienne and Rashard White. And then on the bench, I have James Conner and Tajay Spears. I probably won't really use Tajay Spears that much if I'm going to be honest. And, James Conner, I don't have him in currently. He's good, but he's very injury prone. So, we'll see. We'll see how, the matchups go if I want to put James Conner in because he did good for the games that he was in. Wide receivers currently in, I have DJ Moore, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Terry McLaurin, who's in my flex position. I also have on the bench Keon Coleman, who, without a doubt, by the end of the year will be Josh Allen's favorite target as for a wide receiver outside of Kincaid, but Kincaid is a tight end. I also have Darnell Mooney and Josh Palmer, I'm sorry, bro. I'm probably going to drop you, and you're going to be my rotation piece for when my defense and my kicker have bye weeks. Tight end, I was going to draft Jace Ferguson, and I said, I'm going to wait one more round, and lo and behold, he got drafted. So I have Dalton Schultz. I also have Cole Kmet on my bench. I kind of got him hoping I could use him as a trade piece. Unfortunately, the person who has Jake Ferguson does not want to trade him or wants to trade for a quarterback, but not either of the ones that I have. So looks like I'm gonna be stuck with Dalton Schultz this whole entire season, unless a tight end gets hurt and then I'm able to steal one off the waiver wire, or a tight end just pops out of nowhere. Defense, I got the Jets defense. I know they play the Niners week 1. I'm leaving them in there anyway. They're going to be one of the, or without a doubt, the best defense in the NFL. Plus Xavier Gibson doing kickoffs and punt returns. I'm expecting at least 2 to 3 kick return touchdowns this season from the Jets. So without a doubt, stud defense. And the stud kicker himself, Harrison Buckner. Say what you want about him, but when it comes down to business, he's one of the best kickers in the NFL, one of the most accurate kickers currently in the NFL as well. And the Chiefs are a good scoring team, so I'll get my points there. Except my only complaint about ESPN fantasy is I'm still projected. This happened last year. Last year I was projected to finish 10th out of our 10-man league. This year I'm projected to finish 11th out of 12 teams. I don't know what's going on. Their predictions are just absolute whack. That is all I am going to say.
Hey man, I don't know if they're that whack. I mean, actually they are whack. I'm projected 10th. What? Alright, never mind. They're whack. Screw fantasy ESPN predictions. They're not accurate at all.
Although I am, according
Never
to
trust them.
this, the matchup currently, the team I'm facing is projected 123 points. I'm projected 117. So I've got to make up, 6 points somewhere. But hey, we'll see. That's why it's fantasy. Could have a good game, could have a bad game. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think realistically, I should have a good chance of winning my week 1. Even though I'm projected to lose. I'm projected 121.6 points, while my opponent's projected 123.2. But my opponent also has Chuba Hubbard as their RB2. So I don't really know how that happened. How I'm supposed to lose to Chuba Hubbard, but we'll see how it shakes out. I think I'm looking pretty decent in this matchup here.
I'm not too worried. I feel like last year, especially, I feel like I was projected to lose the majority of the games I've faced, and then I ended up winning. Unfortunately, I didn't make playoffs because I lost out on a 3 or 4 way tiebreaker for the last spot by 6 points. Justin Herbert, you definitely sold me by getting injured. It's not your fault, but definitely got sold on that. So I'm not too worried, but we'll see. I feel way more confident in this team that I have this year than our 10-man league last year. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I think my team last year had the most points scored in the whole entire league, and I did not make playoffs somehow.
Yeah, that was crazy.
But this year, I'm making playoffs. We're turning it around. It's gonna be a good year for fantasy. I can feel it.
I agree. All right, moving on to our final segment. I don't really have a good title for it. This is just called the fun question. Pretty much, it's just, a fun question related to NFL, whatever you want to call it, football. So my fun question is, if you can meet 3 current NFL players, but they can't currently be rostered on your favorite team, who would they be? So they just can't be rostered currently on the Packers.
All right, so first of all, I'm meeting Aaron Rodgers, all right? I mean, that man might hook me up with some weird drugs or something, but it's gonna be chill. It's gonna be chill. We have a good time. I get to know a little more about him. Uh, Second's gotta be Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is number 2. He just left the Packers this offseason. Um, he always seems like a nice guy. He did the Packers a lot of favors in his time, and he just seems like a chill guy. Third, I gotta go with Jamal Williams. He was also a former Packer, um, but he seems like the chillest dude ever, and he seems like just a lot of fun to be around. So yeah, those are my 3. What about you?
See, I was thinking I could go two ways with this. I could do players that were formerly on Seattle, or I could just do players in general. I went with players in general. No particular order, but Garrett Wilson. I think it would be awesome to meet Garrett Wilson, when I was in high school. He was essentially the talk of the town, being in Austin, Texas. That man was a beast at Lake Travis, so I feel like it'd be neat to meet him. Number two, or a second person, I would say Baker. Like, I feel like it would be just cool to meet Baker. I mean, he's also, kind of from Austin, Texas as well. Not really any of sort of related to there, but, I still feel like Baker's pretty chill, cool guy. I feel like it'd be neat to meet him. And then the last person, I was thinking long and hard about this, but I feel like it would be neat to meet CJ Stroud. Seems like a great guy, both on the field, amazing player, and off the field, he seems really, really cool dude, really down to earth. I feel like he would be really neat to meet.
Yeah, I agree. He seems like a chill dude.
Do you have a
All
question?
right,
All right.
my fun question. I don't know how fun it is,
Okay.
but top five receivers of all time. Who's in your top five?
Ooh, receivers. So let me try to rank these. All right, I think Randy Moss. I feel like you have to go Randy Moss. Then Jerry Rice. So Randy Moss and Jerry Rice. Calvin Johnson, I feel like you need up there as well. I'm trying to think of wide receivers for a good reason. I feel like this one could be borderline. Now, I probably wouldn't put him at 3, but I feel like you can put Larry Fitzgerald in that conversation as well.
Yeah, totally.
Larry Fitzgerald as well. And then, ooh, that is tough. So I'm going to redo that top 5 once I list my top 5. But I'm going to go. So I had Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, Calvin Johnson. So I'm keeping those 3 in that order. Randy Moss, I think, would be 1. Jerry Rice, 2. Calvin Johnson, 3. I'm going to slide Larry Fitzgerald down to 5. And then 4th, there's so many good wide receivers that you could choose, but I'm going to go. This is tough, man. I'm going to go Michael Irvin.
Interesting.
I feel like Michael Irvin was really good in his time. You could make an argument. I could have put Antonio Brown there as well, but I just can't. Like, Antonio Brown was such a good football player, but I don't think you can look past what he has done, since his whole debacle and he's gone away from
Yeah.
the NFL. So, yeah, top 5. That would be my top 5, like I was saying. Jerry Rice. I'm totally blanking. Who did I say was second?
I think you said Randy Moss at
Oh,
1,
Randy
Jerry
Moss
Rice
at
at
1.
2.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, Calvin Johnson, Michael Irvin, and Larry Fitzgerald. Who would your top 5 be?
I think my 1 is Jerry Rice.
Mm-hmm.
2, mm, this is tough, but I think my 2 is also Randy Moss. My 3, this might be a hot take, but I think Tyreek Hill is my 3.
Ooh.
And I think he's had a great NFL career, and I think he'll continue to have a great NFL career. I know it's all time, but I think Tyreek is one of the best players we've ever seen to touch the field. His speed is elite. I mean, we've seen it since the Chiefs. He's a great player.
I think you
Um,
could make that argument for Tyreek Hill like once he's retired from the league, once he's done playing football.
yeah. I'm just calling it ahead of time, you know.
Yeah,
He's
I
gonna be
feel
in my
that.
top five eventually. Number four, um, I think I'm gonna go with Terrell Owens. He seems like a beast, baller, big body tight end. Got a lot done in his time. And I gotta throw a Packer on there just for fun, all right? I gotta go Devontae Adams. I mean, watching him growing up, I mean, he's the greatest Packers receiver of all time. He could go up and catch any jump ball. He was so much fun to watch, and I have him rounding out my top five.
Your list is very, I wouldn't say very, but is way a little bit more modern than my
Yeah,
list.
I would say so.
Which, hey, I mean, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams are without a doubt going to be future Hall of Famers. So, whenever they retire, you can put them into that conversation as well.
Yep.
That is going to do it, though, for the first episode of Midweek Meetings. You know, we had a lot to go over this episode. Like I said, obviously, every week we're not going to do the division predictions or, the MVP, offensive player, defensive player, all those predictions. So, the next episode will probably be a little shorter than this one. But if you're watching over on YouTube, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next episode. And, if you're watching on either Twitch channel, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Any last words you want to say?
I don't got much, but just look forward to the rest of the weeks. I think this could be a fun segment that we do, and yeah, I just love talking football with y'all. So yeah, make sure you tune in every week.
I agree. Yes, tune in, guys. Tune in every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern for the next episode and the future episodes coming in. And if you can't make it, it is okay. The VOD will be up tomorrow as on the Midweeks Meetings YouTube channel, along with clips, some shorts as well for some of our predictions and whatnot. But this is going to be a fun segment. I agree with you. It's going to be fun. It's going to be enjoyable. We'll see how our predictions age throughout the season as well. And week 1 of the NFL, I'm excited for. We got the Chiefs and the Ravens coming up. You're not old enough to hit them with the parlay, but I got a couple parlays going on for this week. I'll probably add one later on in the week as well, but I might as well tell you them, see what you think. So I got this. I got Travis Kelce. This was a sale, 0.5 total yards. Also in this parlay is Derrick Henry over 16 rushing attempts, Jordan Love over 255.5 passing yards, and Saquon over 0.5 rush or touchdown receptions. How do we feel about that?
You know, I like it for the most part. The only thing is
The
mm,
Derrick
the
Henry
Saquon
rushing
line.
attempts, maybe a little
And yeah,
sketch.
Derrick Henry rushing attempts, it's gonna be hit or miss. I mean, we don't know what this Ravens offense really looks like yet, so we'll see how that plays out. And Jalen Hurts might just steal all the touchdowns from Saquon.
That's
I
true.
mean,
Hey,
that'll be hit or miss as well.
it's
We'll see how
okay.
that plays out.
You guys in the chat or the comments call me a little wimp. I did put the protection mode on, so if I win, I may not make as much, but hey, if I get one of them wrong, I still got a chance. My other pick, as of right now this one, I don't know what sale they did on Underdog, but if I don't win this, I get my money back essentially. But I got Travis Etienne, over on point 0.5 rush or receiving touchdowns, and Tyreek Hill over 7 receptions. I feel like those are just
Yeah, I
instant
like those lines a
locks.
lot.
Those are
Those
good.
lines are very good. I like those bets a lot.
I may throw another one in there, on game day on Sunday, but those are those for now. I feel like they're going to be good. Next time, I will read those out before I say the little outro, so it's a little more fluid. But that is it, guys, for episode 1. Thank you guys for tuning in over on Twitch. If you guys are watching on YouTube, and make sure you guys subscribe, and feel free to comment some of your NFL predictions as well if you're watching over on YouTube. Make sure you guys tune in every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on twitch.tv/KnockdownNico or twitch.tv/Pr3ssix, so you don't miss it live, or subscribe to Midweeks Meetings on YouTube so you don't miss any of the VODs when they're uploaded. That is it for episode 1, though, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in.